رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. The subject of fiqh, Islamic laws, and we have reached to the subject of the prayers, obligatory prayers. First of all, it is important to know that the prayer is very, very important in Islam. And actually in some of the hadith, it is said, As-salatu amud-ud-din. The prayer is the pillar of religion. In qubilat qubila ma siwaha. If it is accepted by Almighty God, other good deeds of us will be accepted. وَإِن رُدَّتْ رُدَّ مَا سِوَاهَا. If our prayer was not right and is rejected, then all other deeds that we have will be rejected. I mean, like a pillar for a tent, whatever the tent is costly, if the main pillar is not there, if you remove it, then all will fall down. So all our good deeds will fall down if there is no prayer to support it. And that is what they say, the importance of prayer in Islam. The prayer is Mi'raj, Salatu Mi'raj al-Mu'min. Mi'raj is the ascent of a mu'min, ascent to heaven. With that is building a relation between him and Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is important in the prayer to concentrate about Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and try not to think of any worldly thinking. And when we read, we understand the meaning of the words we are reading. When we say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, we say to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you do we worship and from you we get support. Really we mean that in our life we worship only Almighty God, not something else, and we lie actually in our prayer every day that, oh God, we worship you, but actually worship our selfish desires, worship our position, our benefits, our nafs, our soul, and so on, you know. Because in certain traditions, they said, Man azgha ila natiqin faqad abada. If somebody listens to someone and is understanding what he said and following him, faqad abada, he has actually worshipped him. So if that one was saying the right things from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kana yantiqu anillah faqad abada Allah. If he used to say the right things from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the right religious beliefs, then one has already worshipped Allah. But if that one who talk and claim and preach and educate was talking and preaching from something other than Almighty Allah, and we follow him, so actually we are worshipping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, we have to be careful. We listen to whom in teachings and preachings, and knowing our religious duties and Islamic duties. We have always should be careful to choose the right people, not the wrong people, because the wrong people will mislead us. You know. So these are important. When you say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, oh Allah, you we worship, we should really be sincere and true in what we claim, that we worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who do things for show is actually type of shirk, because I do it for sake of God and for sake of people. The people should see me and praise me and say, oh, Mr. So-and-so is very religious, very good, very generous, very pious, so they should praise me. So for sake of them, in order to praise me, I show myself religious, and also for sake of God. So we are combining other than God with God. That is said also shirk in certain ahadith, and sometimes the word used, ash-shirk al-khafi, the secret type of shirk. secret because not the apparent one that you see there are two gods, you know. Obviously there is one God, but unknowingly or sometimes knowingly we add another cause for our deeds, and adding another cause actually worshipping him, and that become polytheism. So in a prayer, you know, that is very important, you know. Also, the taharat, the wudu and ghusl or tayammum, if our duty to do tayammum, should be learned and should be done rightly and properly, because the prayer will be invalid if the wudu is invalid. Suppose someone performed wudu for 20 years, and then after 20 years he realized his wudu was wrong. Naturally, all his prayers in the past are void, and he has to perform qada of them. So this is very important to learn proper wudu and proper ghusl, so that if we do wudu and ghusl should be right, so our prayer will be right. Some people at the age of 60 years, 70 years, they learned wudu wrongly from their childhood, and nobody corrected them, and nobody see them. They perform wudu at home, and nobody see them with the right or wrong. And then at the age of 60, 70, they realized that their wudu was not right. And naturally their prayers are not right. And they have to perform qada of all those years, you know. See, which is very difficult naturally to do it. So it is important to learn the right wudu and right ghusl, which is not difficult. It is 1 hour job to learn the right wudu and right ghusl. It's not a big deal, but at least then you are performing taharat in the right way, and your prayer is to be right. So these are important things about the prayer. Again, in the prayer there are two types of deeds. Some are arkan, the pillars of the prayer. If one of them is added or deleted knowingly, unknowingly, by mistake, or by not mistake, intentionally, then the prayer is void. Make no difference, because these are pillars of the prayer. So one has to learn them properly, so that at least in those pillars he should not do mistake, because any addition, even by mistake, even by ignorance, will not be exempted, and his prayer is void. Well, other acts of the prayer, well, if by mistake some addition happened or you forget to do them, his prayer will not be void, but then it might need some other ways for solution, you know, in which we are going to discuss that. So it is, in short, very important to learn the right way of the wudu and ghusl, taharat, and the right way of the prayer, which will not take much time, so that we'll perform our prayer throughout our life in the right way. This is just introduction for the prayer. And here to start with the obligatory prayers, to say that there are 6 obligatory prayers we have. One of them is the daily prayers, and prayer of the Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and Subh, the morning, midday, and night prayers. And the second one is prayer of the deceased, Salatul Mayyit. If somebody dies, it is obligatory to offer a prayer for him with a special way. We discussed that, prayer of the deceased. The third is Salatul Ayat. Ayat are the signs, and that signs of fear. Like if an earthquake happens, or if some hurricane happens, or anything which will create fear in a natural phenomenon. Heavy flood, for example, the people feel fear that the situation is not normal. There is a special prayer for that. And also when the eclipse happens for the moon or for the sun, there is a prayer for that. It's called Salatul Ayat. That is also a third type of obligatory prayer. The fourth type of obligatory prayer is Salatul Tawaf. Those who go for Hajj, when they perform tawaf 7 times around Kaaba. After tawaf, they have to offer 2 rak'at prayer behind Maqam Ibrahim, and that is also one of the obligatory prayers. And the 5th one is the qada prayer. If the father dies, it is upon his elder son to perform qada of the prayers which was not done by the father. So that is obligatory prayer for the elder son to perform qada of the prayers which was not performed by his father. Maybe his father at times he was not offering prayer, or at the end of his life he was sick and he was not offering prayer properly, rightly. So few months or few years of his life he need his prayer to be performed as qada. So now that qada is wajib here, obligatory upon his elder son. And the 6th one is the prayer on the account of higher vow or oath. If somebody is deceased and the eldest son cannot offer prayer for his father, he can hire people, he can pay money to people and tell him, pray 5 years, let us say, prayer on behalf of my father. So that is another type of prayer of hiring. So the person who got the money, it become obligatory upon him to offer the prayer because he got money for that. Or if somebody have another vow that if, for example, my sons who are sick got all right, I will offer 2 rak'ats or 4 rak'ats, whatever it is, for sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as showing thanks to Almighty Allah, and I offer 2 rak'ats. That become obligatory, but obligatory by nadhr, the vow or oath, And the last one, which is the 7th one, is the prayer of Jum'ah, which is included in the actually daily prayers, because Jum'ah prayer is, if it is obligatory, then it is sufficient of the Dhuhr prayer in the Friday. If you pray Jum'ah prayer with its conditions, then we do not need to pray the Dhuhr prayer. So it is actually Jum'ah prayer is number 7, but actually that 7 is included in the daily prayers, but because it has its own specifications, is mentioned separately. Now the daily prayers, you said they have a special time, The dawn prayer, or what you call Fajr prayer, or early morning prayer, is actually 2 rak'ats. And then midday prayer for Dhuhr, and afternoon prayer, which is Asr, there are 4 rak'ats for each. 4 rak'ats for Dhuhr and 4 rak'ats for Asr. And then Maghrib, which is after sunset, is 3 rak'at, and then Isha, when darkness of the night, is 4 rak'at. So these are the rak'ats of the obligatory daily prayers. We are not talking here about the recommended prayers, which is Sunnat prayer, or Nafile is called. The Nafile are different, For morning prayer, there are 2 rak'ats, for example, before morning prayer, or Fajr prayer. And for Dhuhr prayer, there are 8 rak'ats before Dhuhr, and then 8 rak'ats before Asr, and then 4 rak'ats after Maghrib, and then 2 rak'ats sitting after Isha. These are the recommended, or what's say, Nafile prayers. But the obligatory prayers are as mentioned. Those who travel from their town, and the distance, with the details will come, distance is about 22.5 kilometers. If they travel, then every 4 rak'at will be 2 rak'at. So Dhuhr and Asr and Isha will be 2 rak'ats instead of 4. Morning prayer, which is 2, will remain 2. Maghrib prayer, which is 3, will remain 3. But Dhuhr will be 2, Asr will be 2, and Isha will be 2 instead of 4. So that is the issues about the traveling. Now, the timing of the prayers. The time for Dhuhr and Asr prayers is the midday. Now, what is meant by the midday here is what? The day is counted not from dawn time, from sunrise till sunset. That is the daytime. So the middle of that is the midday. Suppose the day is 12 hours exactly, the length of the day, 12 hours, and naturally length of the night become 12 hours. So the midday is 6 hours after sunrise. That is the midday. If it is 13 hours the night is shorter, the day is longer, as it happens in summer. Sometimes 14 hours, So again, the middle of that, if it is 14 hours, then from sunrise, 7 hours after that will be the midday exactly. Now, with our clock, depends on summer or winter timing, it might be around the 12 o'clock, not exactly 12 o'clock, or let us say 1 o'clock if it is summertime. Why it is around that? Because these timings are not same for one country. One country has east and west and north and south, so it might be different. So it may be a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes before 12 o'clock in winter or 1 o'clock in summer, or maybe 10, 15 minutes after that. Or certain areas, it may be more than that, maybe 1:30, not 1 o'clock, or 1:45, quarter to 2, and so on. So it depends on country to country, because as you know, the hours are not mentioned exactly according to the sun. Each area, they have one timing, though those areas are different. The sunrise from the north to the south, the sunrise may be different, but their timing is one. So sometimes Dhuhr prayer will be in timing in one city is 1 o'clock, in another city is 1:30 or 1:35, sometimes 1:45, about 45 minutes different, though they have the same timing. However, the sunrise also is different in those two cities. So to know the time for Dhuhr prayer exactly, we say midday, which is exactly half the day between sunrise and sunset. Now, in the previous days, there was no watch for the people to say that it is at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. How they used to know it is midday or not? They put what they call a shakas. Shakas is like a stick or a pillar that is a pen, let us say, straight, they keep it. When sunrise is there, the shadow of that will be toward the west. Sunrise from east, the shadow will be toward the west. And when sun is coming toward west at the midday, the shadow will be minimum at a stage. And then when the sun turns toward the west, from the east to the west, the shadow will go to the east. So when the shadow is the minimum, that is actually midday. Because after that it will increase, but toward east side, because the sun will turn from the middle of the sky toward the west, and the shadow will be toward the east. So they used to know that, and in many mosques they used to have like a pillar there, and he said that is what they call shakas, to know the prayer, and they see the shadow where it will reach, and they said now it is the midday. What is the time of the Asr prayer? Time of Asr prayer is after Dhuhr prayer. Dhuhr prayer, let us say if it takes 5 minutes, then after that 5 minutes, Asr prayer will start till sunset. Actually, between midday and sunset, the time is for both Dhuhr and Asr prayer. It is for both of them mixed. The first few minutes, which is sufficient to offer Dhuhr prayer, let us say 4 minutes exactly, is only for Dhuhr. And the last 4 minutes is only for Asr. In between of them is for both Dhuhr and Asr. What we mean by that, the first few minutes, you cannot offer Asr prayer there, because you have to offer prayer, Dhuhr prayer before Asr. So the first few minutes, let's say 4 or 5 minutes, is specific for Dhuhr. And if you forget to offer your prayer, and then 5 minutes before sunset, you realize that you have not offered your prayer today. Now if you pray Dhuhr, then sunset will happen and Asr will be Qadha. He said, no, do you pray Asr? Because that last few minutes are specific for Asr. Dhuhr will be Qadha later on, but you pray only Asr. But if before sunset, let's say 10, 15 minutes, you realize that you have forgotten to pray, naturally you have to pray first Dhuhr and then Asr, because there is enough time. Well, time of Asr, whether it is better to be after Dhuhr directly or to delay it 1 or 2 hours after Dhuhr prayer, again there are views of ulama. Some say to combine them is easier and to separate them is better. To combine them together, Allah made it easy. And in a hadith also, the Holy Prophet prayed 8 rak'at and 7 rak'ats, which means Dhuhr and Asr 8, and Maghrib and Isha, which are 7, together without being in fear or fear of war, or without being in traveling. They asked Ibn Abbas why the Prophet did that. Ibn Abbas said he wanted arada an yusahil ala ummati. He wanted to make it easy for his ummah. The Holy Prophet knew that the people cannot always separate Asr from Dhuhr or Isha from Maghrib, because ultimately they will be busy in their business, in their life, and they cannot come again for Asr prayer, and Asr prayer will be Qadha, which is haram. They should not neglect it till it becomes Qadha. They should offer the prayer. So he wanted to make it easy for them. He said you can combine them. So to combine Dhuhr and Asr together is allowed, no doubt. And to combine Maghrib and Isha together is also allowed. But if you want to separate them, still that is better. And again, the views of ulama are here different. Some said it's not always better to separate Dhuhr and Asr or Maghrib and Isha from each other. Not always better. It is not a general rule. When it is better if you want to pray the nafilah or make the dhikr, what you call ta'qibatu salah, the supplication after the prayer. Because supplication sometimes takes half an hour, and then let us say nafilah of the Asr, 8 rak'ats take another 10 minutes, so it is 40, 50 minutes. Okay, you pray Dhuhr, you pray first nafilah of Dhuhr, and then you pray Dhuhr prayer, and then start with the supplications after. There are so many supplications. Well, if you have time and you want to recite all of them, it's up to you. Then, because you are reciting dua, it's better to delay Asr till its time, maybe 2 hours after Dhuhr. It depends, summer and winter. A lot of details are there. But if you are not doing any supplication, and you are not willing to do nafilah, you want to do only obligatory prayer, then here it is not mustahab to delay Asr. You pray Dhuhr and pray Asr after it right away. According to some ulama, that is better. Some ulama said, well, still it is better to separate them. However, in our modern life and difficulties of life, and the people are busy and not easy for them to come home or the mosque or even at work to pray and then delay after 2 hours, come again. Sometimes they are busy, they cannot leave the customer, they cannot leave the university if they are students, and so on. So Allah made it easy for them. Let them pray Dhuhr and Asr together, and it is accepted. So that is the time for Dhuhr and Asr prayer. The time for Maghrib and Isha. Maghrib, there are 2 views. Some say sunset is sufficient for Maghrib prayer to start. Exactly after sunset, then you can pray Maghrib. Some ulama have as obligatory recommendation or precaution or recommended precaution. They said it's better to be after this appearance of the Humra al-Mashriqiyya, the eastern redness in the sky. And that will take about 10 to 15 to 20 minutes after sunset. What do we mean redness in the eastern side? When sunset is in the west, you see still there is some red light in the sky and even in the east side. Still the darkness is not there in the sky. Sky is still red. And after 10 minutes, you see that redness will gradually from east to center of the sky will disappear and will remain only red at the west. The west sometimes half an hour or 45 minutes will take time. So that red light which is in the east, you have to wait for it to disappear. At its disappearance, Maghrib prayer will start. They say بعد حمرة المشرقية, the redness of the sky at the east, which, as I said, takes some time. In some countries 10 minutes, some countries 15 minutes, some countries 21 minutes, and depends north side of the globe or south of the globe, in summer, in winter, the different positions. So that is the timing of Maghrib till midnight. Here midnight, again, there is a difference in views. Some said midnight is between sunset and down time. Down, is 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 1.5 hours is before sunrise. So they say the mid of the timing between sunset and down time, that is the midnight. Some ulama said, no, the midnight is between sunset and sunrise. That is the midnight. So the timing for Maghrib, intentionally, if you delay it, then it will be qada after that. But if due to you are busy or some problems or anyhow, some situations you could not pray, so time for Maghrib and Isha will continue till dawn. So even after midnight, if you could not pray it before that for genuine reason, then you after midnight, is to say 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock after midnight, before dawn time, you have to pray Maghrib and then Isha. Always Maghrib is before Isha. And about the down time is the time for morning prayer. The down time between down time and sunrise. That is the timing for morning prayer. What is the down time? How do you recognize it? Actually, if you look to the east, the place of sunrise, you see at the beginning, at night, it is dark. You see to the horizon, where sunrise is there, it is completely dark because it is night. Then at the beginning, light will come, which is perpendicular to the sky. That is called a false dawn. That is not the timing for dawn prayer. The light will go up to the sky and will disappear in about 10 minutes and will finish. So that is a false dawn. After that, a light will rise. You see a bulge of light start, and it will spread horizontally and then gradually grow perpendicularly to the sky. That is the downtime. So in the city it's difficult to see it because light of the city will prevent you to see. But if you are in desert and on the east side there is no lights, no cities, no villages, and you look, you can see that very clearly and you know it. However, sometimes by calculation they can tell you, it is actually scientifically said, when the degree of the sun to the horizon is 18 degrees and then lower than 18, then it will be the timing for downtime or morning prayer. Because the dawn started and then the light will continue till sunrise, So that is the time for morning prayer. So these are the timings for the prayers in short. I think it's sufficient till here. Inshallah, we'll continue in the next session. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi al-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah.